faces you've seen before. So what made me comfortable, I haven't moved from DC to LA briefly to work and then eventually came to Chicago in 1990, is that I decided to look for an environment where I could see or feel comfortable. And when I moved to the south side of Chicago, I felt that way, and I've been here since. But what perhaps you are talking about, what people could have found, I won't say appealing, but what could were comfortable in being around me or getting to know me will be the sense of self, which unfortunately that's all I have because I'm in a new environment. So to have wanted to be something else would have made me look funny to people around me. So Yorubas have a saying, Onta anila nani, omashegita nani epogi. It said, the child of a firewood seller, all he or she could play with as a toy will be chips of the wood. But if that's all you have and you love it, you respect it, it might take you places. As little or as on glamorous the firewood is, if you understand where my drift is. So since I know that all I have is my upbringing, my culture, and I've behaved that way within the community, I socialize with those who love the Yoruba culture, and the culture shows in my work. So you would then expect that those who will then be attracted to me, or I'll be attracted to, will be those who understand that culture. I always say my culture and my upbringing, thanks to my parents and elders in my family, has attracted me, and vice versa to specific people. So if that's what you've noticed, I think I'm doing justice to my upbringing.
And furthermore, you know, this is a point that should be noted because a lot of people don't know sometimes the segregation or the demographics of even the city of Chicago, particularly then the African community in Chicago. You, and I can testify to this, are one of the few Africans that I know have migrated on the south side with the African American community, particularly leaving communities where there are large populations of Africans. And I say, you know, you walk the talk you talk, and a credit to you because you've blessed a lot of people around you in so doing.
Yeah, credit to my upbringing, if I may say again, and credit to Howard played a very vital role in my life. Even though I came as an old man, most immigrants, if I may use that term, from every culture that comes, use that technique of coming and going to the community where you are comfortable and learn. And at times, you get carried away, you stay in that community forever. For instance, well, let's use Chicago for an example. You have the Polish community, you have the Puerto Rican, of course, Latino community, people sing, and then we have the South Side. And then you have the example, which is the African, which is now diverse too. You're talking of about 60 countries in Africa, of whom they all have representation in Chicago. So if one decides to then say, okay, I'm moving to Chicago and I want to stay with my community, one, you do a disservice to yourself, not understanding the environment in which you are living better. At the same time, you do a disservice if you're in a profession like ours, not being seen, your work being seen or being known by others. So it's so interesting that periodically whenever I hang out in the Nigerian community, which is the community I'm from primarily, I still run into few people who will say, Dayo, are you still in that same place on the south side? We are praying for you. So there's always this unfortunate mindset of folks. Some folks at times, they feel everything on the south side is poor. But thank God we have a president now that lives on the south side, not too far from here. So I would probably emphasize that the comfort and the ability to see myself in the people on the south side made it more comfortable for me not to feel I'm far away from Nigeria, because Nigeria is on the south side anyway. You see it in people, you see it in things, you see it in behavior. And so the sense of the comfort, I'm very comfortable here. So that has really made it very easy for me to call this place home. Yeah.
And, that brings us to the purpose of this whole documentation of this, and explaining that south of Roosevelt Road is a beautiful paradise in the sense of culture and richness. And as I talk about that, you are not only an artist, you're a curator, you're a historian for the things and the way that you've documented things through time and understand history. While you may not have all the credentials that say that, you have actively fulfilled the role of understanding time and history and looking at the present tense of that. And as you've observed this community and the movement of art, for lack of a better word, while it may not have a technical title, how would you describe your experience as an artist and equate that to a movement of sorts in terms of what you know and you've seen from the collectors to the artists? What would be your testimony, if any?
A lot has happened since I've been here. When I studied art on the East Coast, what I chose to know more is that since I've studied European art, or art history, so to speak, it would be ideal for me to know more of myself, of African American art history. So when you then pick up a book by Dr. Samuel Andose's book on African American art and artists, or you've taken a couple of courses in African American art on African American artists, or African American art, African American history, you can't but see that a lot has happened within our field through time. And if we have to limit it to this period, which is, to me, from my 22 years experience, it's not been well documented, and it's not really been focused on. I don't know what I could blame it on, but if I really have to put blame on it, we're forgetting the race effect. We won't even touch that, because what made things easy for folks is when you have people who collate. You have scholars who could put together what's going on within an environment and document it, whether you put it out in a publishing form as a book, or we do what we're doing now. Luckily, we live in a world of technology. And so, I will hope that if our institutions have really stepped up, and we don't have many, we have Studio Museum in Harlem, and of course we have Southside Community Art Center. We've had Dusabo. If the focus of, say, Dusabo has not been into the so-called literary and the other aspects of our history, I think careers of artists like you and others before me within our race could have moved further. So I'm hoping that if we could get some of these young upcoming scholars to, and when I was at Harvard, that was emphasized, that we are lacking, we as a people are lacking in having scholar or theorists in art. And interestingly, we had it in the 40s and 50s. Somehow, most of them end up in academia, somehow, some of them just, of course, through time will pass on. So that has affected works being seen. But if I have to, in a nutshell, which is very hard for